The CGA Tour, a podcast unlike any other. Now your host, Glen Alexander.
Hey Cowboy fans, today's episode is brought to you by Oakley Burklow, your go-to independent insurance agent and proud OSU alum. Oakley helps with home, auto, life, and business insurance, working with multiple top-rated insurance companies to find you the right coverage at the right price. Licensed in Oklahoma and Arkansas. Call 918-280-9068 or email oakley.burklow@connectmyinsurance.com. Personal service, honest advice, and a fellow Hoke helping you protect what matters most. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the CGA Tour podcast, the Glen Alexander Tour, covering all things Oklahoma State sports. And tonight I am joined by Dekota Gregory, Stormin In Norman guy who maybe wants to, I don't know, I mean, you're an Oklahoma State alum, writing about OU. I don't know if you've got mixed feelings about the topic here of Ben Arbuckle maybe come to Stillwater after the end of the season. Well, just speculation here, but you wrote a great article earlier this morning, so I'll get into that. It'll be linked below down here, wherever you're listening to the podcast, wherever you're viewing it on YouTube or on Spotify. But basically, Dakota, you went into depth here a little bit on Ben Arbuckle possibly coming to Stillwater after the end of the season, barring Mike Gundy's gone from the program, et cetera, et cetera. You know, I mean, a bunch of other stuff would happen, but caught my attention, of course. It's a bye week for Oklahoma State, and I wanted to bring you on, ask you. So thanks for joining.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been a bit. I like the new intro. That was stepping up in the world, huh?
Oh yeah. Hey, you know what? I Marshall and the Reload podcast. Marshall, a friend of ours, from the Pistols Firing guys. They're doing big things. Trying to step it up, get on their level a little bit. See what I can do to try to inch my way closer into that realm of talking OSU sports. But thanks so much.
But yeah, speaking of Marshall, I was at Pistols Fire for a little bit, and I'm covering OU for Fanside, Stormin In Norman. So it's kind of like my worlds are colliding a little bit. We don't get a Bedlam anymore, so I don't get this very often for football. But yeah, this is a story or a possibility that kind of popped in my head. I watched most of OSU's blowout against Oregon last week, and then I watched OU beat Michigan, and Brent Venables' defense deserves a lot of credit. I mean, he's spectacular. He's a guy that's won 3 national championships calling the defense. But even if that defense was that good, I don't think they win that game last year. So the difference was the offense and how well they are because of Ben Arbuckle, who they got from Washington State. I thought, man, that job opening and, you got a big-time coordinator. But it's too early, right? There's no way. But Bruce Feldman had the report today for The Athletic that's like, hey, this could actually be a legit possibility, which is wild to think because I did think, yes, it might be a possibility, but maybe not like a this year or definitely not going into week 3. I mean, I think it's that early. But this is a guy that 5 years ago in 2020 was an offensive coordinator at a high school in Texas. And so to think, you fast forward 5 or 6 years that he could be the head coach, how much Oklahoma State's struggling or not, to still be a head coach at a relevant Power 4 program seems absurd. But I thought it was absurd last year, and I was covering OU's offensive coordinator search, and they're looking at this guy who's 29 years old with 2 years of play calling experience at Washington State. And so it's just kind of crazy that he's already in this position. But you understand why when you look at the stuff. I mean, you were surprised when we talked, right before we started that he coached Bailey Zappi, a guy who broke the single-season FBS record for passing yards and passing touchdowns at Western Kentucky. He kind of just took him under the wing. He was just a quality control guy at Western Kentucky at the time. Gets to go to Washington State, and he has a guy named Cam Ward who was under-recruited. I mean, everyone he's had has been very under-recruited, so you're like, well, maybe this guy's just kind of the quarterback whisperer. He's not just, unless he's getting really lucky falling into talent that no one else realized. And so Cam Ward's good enough where he gets a lot of money thrown at him, and he goes to Miami, and they have a very, very good offense when he's at Washington State. And you lose a guy who eventually is the number 1 overall draft pick, and then he just throws John Mateer in there, and John Mateer leads the FBS in, I think, 44 total touchdowns last season. And the question was, could they do it in the SEC? They haven't started the SEC play. John Mateer follows Ben Arbuckle to OU. But I don't know if you see much better defenses than Michigan had last week. And they seem to just keep on chugging along and doing the same thing. So even though he's 29, not much experience. It's crazy to think, again, 5 years ago, he was an offense coordinator at a high school. Right before that, there's stories of him like working for Uber Eats and delivering meals so he could volunteer as a coach somewhere else. I mean, the dude loves football and he's going to do what he needs to do to get to this point. But he has a track record in that short time that, I mean, he knows ball and he has succeeded everywhere he's been so far.
Yeah, it's crazy to me to see a guy born in 95. I mean, talking about head coaching opportunities, just because I'm born in 93, just to put it all on the table. Like, I'm 32 and I'm going, oh my gosh, this dude, I mean, he's recording this on Friday, September 12th. His birthday's in a couple of days. He'll turn 30 here, probably as you're listening to this podcast, or a little bit before, a little bit after people do. Is it odd to you to think that, like, so quickly he could go from being the OC at Oklahoma to, a head coaching position at a, I don't even want to say just FBS level, but at a D1 program?
Yeah, for sure. It does seem crazy. Like we said, like, he's the same age as me. I'm 29. He's 29. And I hear, Mike Gundy, who's been doing this for his 21st season. Brent Venables only his 4th year as a head coach, but was offense coordinator forever. And you hear them and other coaches across the country publicly state like how hard it is to be a head coach now. Just all the stuff that goes into it, retention and the transfer portal, NIL. There's so many moving pieces. And to think like someone my age is in charge of all that, and to think he's not much older than the players that he's coaching. So yeah, it does seem absurd. And it's not like he's a guy who was well known and went to a program like OU or an Alabama and stepped in as a GA and was a quarterbacks coach and kind of had the easy path. He kind of had not the long road because he's already here at 29, but an odd road to get here that he kind of went into hyperdrive at some point. I'm sure it helped when you're coaching a quarterback who breaks the FBS record for single season passing yards and record or touchdowns. But yeah, it is kind of absurd to think if this does happen again. It's extremely early. We're just speculating. It's not like we're breaking news or anything. But to think if a 30-year-old guy with 3 years of play calling experience could be coaching you, if it's not OSU, to be coaching any Division I, Group of 5, Power 4 program. When he's 30 years old.
Well, I mean, he graduated college the same year we did. He graduated 18, his Wikipedia page is honestly like, if you're on a desktop computer, it's like a scroll or two. I mean, it's not long, he's 29, of course. The one thing I really want to ask is, do you think he is more on the side of he's had a lucky kind of stint of guys he's been able to coach and kind of a lucky, it's like Cam Ward? Mm-hmm. That guy's, of course, it's going to be a bit of both no matter what. But do you think his path kind of leads more of he's been lucky and he's a great mind, or he's more of a brilliant mind and there's some luck involved? Like, which would you have to, if you had to choose one, which do you think he's kind of more leaning towards? I mean, the guy from Incarnate Word is now number 1 pick in the NFL and playing for the Titans. That seems insane, but also his trajectory to go Incarnate Word, Washington State, Miami. All right, whole picture makes more sense. So then that's, of course, Cam Ward, a guy that, Ben Arbuckle coached.
No, I think it's obviously luck plays a little of it to get to where you're at this quick. And maybe he lucked into 3 great quarterbacks that were under-recruited. But I think that the fact that you look at their background, I believe, if I remember correctly, Washington State was John Mateer's only like big offer. Like FCS, small school in West Texas, like no one was after him, and he goes there. And I mean, as of right now, going into week 3, he's a Heisman Trophy favorite, and they say he's leaping off the draft boards. So he could be, depending on Mateer continues on this trajectory, he could take 2 under-recruited guys and turn them into first-round draft picks if Mateer continues to rise. And one of them was the number 1 overall. We don't know where Mateer ends up or if he wins a Heisman. And who's the Bailey Zappies from Western Kentucky? But if he puts up those numbers anywhere else, he's still in a practice squad, I think, with the Browns. He's probably a pretty high draft pick if it's anywhere else, and he got the opportunity to go somewhere. So I don't know if luck is involved. It has to be something, his system, you plug it in, because every guy he's plugged into it, or every guy he's had under his wing has had insane success, and none of them were just like, well, duh. That none of them were just great talents that everyone just knew was going to be good, and he just like, hey, don't screw it up. There were guys who people didn't think much of, and then they turned into what they are today.
Well, do you think there's any chance at all that Mateer, one, would even come back for another year of college, and two, would he transfer with Arbuckle, or is their relationship that close where Mateer goes, hey, I'm going wherever this guy's going. I may not stay here if I do come back for another year.
Yeah, I think more so it may hurt OSU if this is the guy they want. If Mateer stays, his style isn't much of an NFL. He wasn't popping off NFL draft boards this preseason. Now they say he is a little bit more, but I think if it does get to the point where they have a lot of success, he wants to stay another season, and you're Ben Arbuckle, I think, if your ambitions to be a big time head coach one day, I'd go ahead and stay where I'm at, stick it with the guy I already have who know you're going to bring in more talent. Recruiting's starting to turn around for OU. You're going to do better in the transfer portal when they know they can play with a guy like John Mateer. So I think if Mateer says, hey, I'm going to go ahead and stay in Norman for another year, I would see him saying, hey, I'll do this. And then you can get one of those, in Arkansas, Auburn, Ole Miss type job if Lane Kiffin goes, USC, whatever it may be. No disrespect to Oklahoma State. There's just, potentially bigger jobs open that he could go to, and on top of getting another year of experience as well. So I definitely couldn't see him bringing Mateer with him in that unknown situation, or would Mateer jump at that either.
All right, and then the follow-up question I have here is how do you think he kind of compares to the other Oklahoma State possible head coaching candidates? I mean, at this point, this is all speculation here, all kind of rumors and stuff like that, but we're going off of, your article and also Bruce Feldman's reporting, et cetera. There's Alex Skolesh, I think I pronounced that correct, the USF head coach who was an Oklahoma State GA at one point in 2008, per his Wikipedia page. And then also, of course, Zach Robinson, former Oklahoma State quarterback, who's now been in the NFL, and of course would make a major pay upgrade if he moved to a head coaching position in college. Granted, that doesn't seem like a lot of, but that kind of gave me more insight into it. So how do you think he compares to some other coaching candidates Oklahoma State would have on the radar?
When you throw a guy like, I think GJ Kinney is kind of my pick. I really like that pick for Oklahoma State, but even though UCF, Texas State, I think one thing those guys definitely have that Arbuckle doesn't have his head coaching experience at any level, right? To be able to finesse and know how to handle roster management and NIL and transfer portal, and they're probably at that level used to kind of cycling through guys all the time. So he definitely doesn't have that going like the other guys do. Obviously, Zach Robinson wouldn't have that as well, but then, Zach Robinson this time next year could be a head coach at the NFL. So it kind of just depends on if he would rather bring his alma mater back from the ashes or get one of 32 job openings in the world. So that's a pretty hard thing to turn down. And so, yeah, he doesn't have that head coaching experience, but it also depends on, I think, how the rest of the landscape plays out. Auburn and Arkansas are a lot better right now, but there's a good chance they're looking for coaches. And that those are two SEC programs at Oklahoma State where they're going to go after, the South Florida coach has experience at Florida. They're not looking so hot. Billy Napier could be looking for a new job, and Florida could be looking for a new coach. And so the more SEC jobs, the more Big Ten jobs that open up, you may have to start going, hey, we might have to risk it on a 29-year-old coordinator and have to go some with no head coaching experience because these other programs are USC, whoever it may be, grabbing programs with, grabbing guys with head coaching experience.
Yeah, I'm much more in the boat of, could Oklahoma State pull in Indiana? Could you go from having a really nothing to talk about the last 5 years to Kirk Scanetti, a bunch of James Madison transfers that went with them over to Indiana, and then all of a sudden you're in the playoffs. Now, Indiana had a fluky, crazy, easy schedule last year. That's been well said and well versed. So I'm not saying Oklahoma State would be in the playoffs or anything like that, but I'm just saying just go from 2 to 4 wins this year, maybe, to all of a sudden being 8-win season. How does that look for Oklahoma State? What would that roadmap look like? And I think it would be bringing in a bunch of transfers that come with you. So that's kind of the question there too. Well, anything else to add? Because as much fun it is to talk about maybe all this happened, maybe Ben Arbuckle, maybe leaving, et cetera, would much rather Oklahoma State just gotten Ben Arbuckle last offseason. But then again, we're here now. So wishes can be wishes as long as I want them to be, but they'll never be anything more. So any other last thoughts to add here? No,
I think it's always fun to think about. To think Bedlam lines, I don't think the line is blurred now because players are hopping across it all the time now. It's not like Arbuckle is going to leave from OSU or leave from OU, go to OSU, and turn around and play Venables next year. But he is right there. I mean, he's already, the longer he's at OU, he's got things that'll benefit OSU because he's recruiting Texas, he's recruiting the state of Oklahoma. So he does have that benefit as well compared to going to get a guy from South Florida or was it Penn State's offensive coordinator is a pretty hot name right now and guys like that. So I think if you are going for someone that's not a head coach, Arbuckle would be up there, especially when if resources are as tight as they say at Oklahoma State, maybe he is a little bit cheaper than a more well-known, experienced coordinator as well.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Gundy's rumored to be making between $6 to $7 million this year after taking $1 million pay cut. That's a lot more than $500,000 a year as an offense coordinator in the NFL if you're Zach Robinson. Mm-hmm. And I assume, from what I'm understanding, it's more than Ben Arbuckle, and it's more from, than Alex Galesh is making at a G5, program at USF as well too. So no matter what, Oklahoma State has a lot of upsides and intrigue of why to come coach there. But you're right, we may get beat out by an Auburn, Arkansas, whoever else may just come in. Big Ten SEC programs may just come in and get those top coaching candidates, and we're left with what we're left with. So anyways,
they probably won't be able to afford the same salary as Gundy as well. Because one, he's earned that, but two, even though he took that pay cut, you still got to buy out Gundy. Then you got to go buy out Arbuckle or whoever else you hire, and then you got to fork over the money to actually pay the guy before even getting there as well.
Yeah, and there's all these rumors about there's guys, Oklahoma State donors with $8 million, just eight-digit figures, excuse me. Mm-hmm. So more than $8 million, 8-digit figures just lined up, ready to go. Well, what happens when push comes to shove? Are they still there? And I mean, especially if the season doesn't go as well and they're affording to transfers in, and some of them, a lot of those guys were upperclassmen who are not going to be back next year anyways. Mm-hmm. So a lot more speculation. Dekota, thanks so much for joining. If you're not already, follow out the CGA Tour on Twitter, Instagram. Oklahoma State fans probably will not be following Stormin In Norman, but definitely check out Dekota's article on maybe Oklahoma State's next head coach in Ben Arbuckle. Linked down below or linked wherever you're listening to the podcast here as well. So Dekota, thanks so much.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it, Kevin.
Of course. Thank you. Oakley fans, today's episode is brought to you by Oakley Burklow, your go-to independent insurance agent and proud OSU alum. Oakley helps with home, auto, life, and business insurance, working with multiple top-rated insurance companies to find you the right coverage at the right price. Licensed in Oklahoma and Arkansas. Call 918-280-9068 or email oakley.burklow@connectmyinsurance.com. Personal service, honest advice, and a fellow poke helping you protect